are you?
agent administered via injection in a hospital. Oh, gee.
It's not yet, but like 2 seconds it will be.
So we'll talk after. But it's been working.
I can only trade it later, but I just wanted to ask you because I know you've gone through the.
Yeah, but it takes a couple times. It took a couple times.
No, this is just
Our insurance denier, and it said she has to try 2 other drugs before, and then it failed, and then they go.
Yeah, like she has to have side effects for a certain period of time before, and then, yeah,
She's really uncomfortable, so it's like.
I know, it's hard.
Crazy.
Yeah. It feels so short.
You got shoes on now, so it's too cold for sandals.
Missed the fire today. It's all right. It wasn't.
I
We
walked
had
out
like
to
half
the
the people.
Amazon package.
It was only still there.
Shoes on about 6 o'clock, and I was
Big fireplace somewhere to keep your feet.
We're working an hour away. Makes certain things tough.
shoes on and came out. Especially the wind and Worcester.
Yeah. It's warming up a little bit.
Oh, I never thought I would actually see closed-toed shoes there.
Supposed to be 55 and 75 or something. More than that. You work as a
Jake, you ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Beth, are you good?
Yeah.
Sarah, you good? All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Select Board meeting, Wednesday, December 17th. I just want to mention that the meeting is being videotaped and live streamed. And just a reminder to the residents, a winter parking ban is in effect from November 15th through April 1st. There shall be no parking on any streets between the hours 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. Vehicles in violation will be ticketed and towed at the owner's expense. All snow and ice removed from driveways, sidewalks, or private property shall not be plowed or shoveled or blown across any public way, street, or roadway in Brookfield. Thank you. So let's stand for the pledge. All right, so first agenda item is to reorganize the board. In the last meeting, we did not establish a vice chair and a clerk.
I'll make a motion to make Beth vice chair.
I'll second it. All in
Okay.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to have Sarah Campbell be the clerk.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
I vote no.
You vote no.
Number two, the treasurer position. I'll let
Yeah,
you
just,
take the lead.
yeah, just an update. I reached out to, the OCAM executive assistant, and she talked to their select board, and they were willing to at least start the conversation. They are looking for more than somebody for 10 hours, at least. So ours is posted for 30, so she was looking to see if we'd be negotiable on the hours, and the pay and things like that. And I said, obviously I would talk to you two first. There would be a selectman and her kind of leading the discussion, to figure out pay and to figure out the details. So I don't know if we want to have somebody start the conversation with them one-on-one, or you wanna have a joint meeting? Or what you guys wanna do to at least kinda start the conversation? I saw Paxton also was looking for a treasurer, but they're looking for a treasurer slash collector, so that might be kinda hard.
Yeah, especially,
Yeah.
so, well, I think we do have a couple of options, right? So they want somebody more than 10 hours. I think we've proven that our job is at least a 30-hour job. Yes, no?
I think it's gonna depend. With what, with HR, like they don't do, she does, the executive assistant does their HR duties, whereas here, we're trying to, I think in the 30 hours, make HR and the treasurer. I think when we posted before, just treasurer, it was only 24 hours. So I think if we could fill the role,
Throw a hand up online,
if we could fill the role of of HR duties, then I feel like, then we could be kind of negotiable, maybe a little bit more on the 30 hours.
Okay.
But yeah, I agree with like the where we stand now with HR and treasurer. I don't know if I'm willing to give up more than those 30
So
hours.
do we need to repost the HR position?
Well, she posted both, it says, in this posting, it says for $38 an hour, HR and treasurer for the 30 hours. So Karen posted them together.
Yes, that's what you told.
So,
Because I think but our thought process last time was AJ was not gonna be, Lori said she was not gonna be able to go on her own by January 8th, by the time Sharon left for HR. So we're still gonna need somebody to fill that role.
Has anyone sat down and talked directly with AJ about it? And-
No,
And
I haven't.
and do we have anything specified from Lori about like what the concerns are? Because, and I
No,
still.
all she said was here at
And
the
I,
meeting.
and I still haven't, like, I didn't follow up directly post-meeting, so shame on me for that. But I know the one time I reached out to AJ for something, she got back to me in like 2 hours with the answer, and I was able to go do what I needed to do. So
Yeah, I've met her a couple times.
I'm not quite sure where that's coming from, so I'd really like to sit down, either sit down with them or start some sort of, online communication with them to say, okay, what are the tasks that AJ needs to be able to do to be considered fully self-sufficient in the HR role? Have we ever defined that?
I don't think we have.
Okay. So if we haven't defined that, it's really hard to say whether or not somebody's
I-
meeting the bar or not.
I agree.
Okay, and like I said, I've only had a couple of interactions, but every question I've had, she's been able to answer. So I'd like to understand what that looks like,
Yeah,
right? I think,
my concern is, my only concern is that January 5th or 8th, I can't remember.
it's already
the date.
here. I mean,
Yeah,
it's fundamentally already here.
It's coming up, so I don't want to leave,
So I think we could negotiate with Oakham about a pure, like we could potentially repost this, take the HR out of it.
yeah,
Okay, even if AJ's maybe not 100% at that point,
see where she is.
see where she
see
is,
where she's
understand what,
lacking, is
see
it a
see what the deltas
system?
are, is it,
Yeah.
yeah, is it a system problem, is
Yeah.
it a training issue, is it, what's the real deal, right? I don't think we have time at this point to do a joint meeting with Oakham
No.
unless they're willing to meet like Monday of next week.
Yeah, I could just see, if you want, what they're really looking for. I could meet with one of the selectmen and the executive assistant and see what they're I would like to see like what their job responsibilities are what their job responsibilities are looking for compared to what we are first, before we even talk about hours and dollar or anything like that. I kind of want to know what they're looking for in the position compared to what we are too.
Okay, so I tell you what, I think this could be to a benefit to us. I haven't gone through the resumes that Karen has forwarded for treasurer. I had started to go through the town administrator ones. I had started to do call-outs, and then we hadn't really established what we were hiring for because we had both the full-time and part-time posting out there. And I don't think we've really fully had the dialogue over, it's really hard to talk to job applicants if you don't know what job you're actually offering them.
Offering them, yeah.
Okay, I do have some feedback from a couple of them. Do we have town administrator on the agenda too?
Yeah, it's next.
Let's
Okay.
just stick with,
Well, no, well, I need to lean a little bit into the town administrator topic just to have this conversation for just a second,
fair
okay?
enough, yeah.
Is that, from a standpoint, and I guess this is my question to the rest of the board. I don't think talking to Oakham about potentially pursuing a shared treasurer necessarily should stop our review of resumes and potentially seeing if we have anybody viable in our current applicant pool.
I agree, and I don't think it should stop us from seeing what to lean on AJ to see what AJ needs also to
Right.
help her get comfortable with HR and,
Right.
yeah.
So that's the first thing. So, I mean, I think to circle back around on this conversation, I don't think we have anything posted for next week. Do we have a night that we could meet back up, that you could go talk to Oakham and bring it back to the board?
Yeah, I can see too when their next meeting is. I can always ask to get on their agenda too, if that's easier.
Well, depends on what they're open to, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Is their position vacant as well, or?
Yeah, right now they're paying a firm like $175 an hour, I think,
Right,
to do their treasurer role.
okay,
So yeah, they're looking for somebody.
okay. So,
Yeah, she brought up their conversation already to the select board, and they're aware, and so at least we can start, yeah, I agree, start the conversation and just see where it goes.
right, and I would pose the question to them, right? Would they prefer to vote a delegate to
Yeah,
talk with us, or
that's-
would they
yeah.
prefer to have a joint meeting?
Meeting, yeah.
Would be the direction I would go with it. But the flip side is I was gonna offer, because I guess there was some confusion, because we had clearly discussed at one of our meetings that I was gonna start calling the TA resumes, and I had asked for Karen to start forwarding them. And then she apparently, I don't know if she heard from one of you all, or just for some reason had the assumption that I was only going through the treasurer stuff. So do y'all want me to start calling out to the treasurer resumes and see, and screening those and bring a report back to y'all about what's there?
I'm good with you contacting and just pre-screening. The one, I think the only confusion was I didn't realize you were gonna start doing interviews on the, but
It's
I
not
don't-
an interview.
it doesn't really.
Yeah, it wasn't an interview, they were phone screens, there's a
Okay,
difference.
but I clearly said I didn't mind you reaching out as a.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, and I've been very clear with people, I don't have any hiring authority individually that it's a phone screen, right? I think one person I asked a question that I usually reserve for an interview, and I actually disclosed that to the person, hey, this is only a phone screen, but I have one question I usually ask people in an interview, just because I felt they needed that extra courtesy, so,
Fair enough. So then Sarah's gonna reach out to the town of Oakham, and you're gonna start pre-screening the applicants?
Treasurer, yeah.
Very good, thank you.
So do we need a motion to that effect? So
I don't know that we
I'll
have
make,
to,
I'll make a motion that
We
Sarah-
already did it without a motion previous, but you're welcome to do.
Well, we
one,
did, but
sure.
I just want to make
Okay.
sure it gets in the minutes as
Yep.
a motion, since
Fine.
we had a confusion. So I make a motion that Sarah act as our liaison to Oakham to see if, Oakham for the purposes of determining if a shared treasurer is an option, and to handle initial coordinations with their board, and for me to start screening the treasurer resumes, doing a phone screen, and bring a recommendation back to the board about an interview.
I'll second that. Any discussion? So.
We had a hand first too, right? Didn't we?
Okay,
We had a
Yeah.
couple.
so I want to say one more thing before we take, so I want to clearly understand this. So are we looking to hire someone for 10 hours a week in Ocam and 30 hours a week here to split the expenses of a full-time employee? Or are we?
Yes.
Wouldn't it, but if they're looking for more than 10 hours a week and we need more than 30 or more than 25, and it doesn't work that way, what would be the advantage to splitting?
They're still looking to split She's aware, the
Okay,
hours,
okay,
I
all
know
right.
where you're going, and,
Okay, all right.
and for now, they're okay with it, so we're rolling with it. And
Okay.
we can figure it out, I guess, and that's
Well,
what I would like to
and-
know.
And that's, I think, part of what Sarah was saying, that we
Yeah.
need to have a deeper conversation.
Yeah.
So the question is, can we, and to her point earlier, if I was listening correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah,
when, with the HR with the HR portion of the work removed, we were originally looking at 24 hours,
yeah,
okay?
So it might work.
So if we could get it down to, if we can evaluate the situation we currently have with having a separate HR person, identify any potential training or system gaps that we need to identify to keep that as its own separate function, it may yet put us in a position where we could have a shared individual, you know, who's
Sure.
working roughly 40 hours between the two
All right,
towns.
so before we take the vote, Jake, who had their hand up?
Brad.
Brad, go ahead, you get the floor.
This question's probably directed to Beth, because she was probably around when it happened, but when we hired for the treasurer last time, one of the conversations I had in that process was with Sarah Hunter, who is an outsourced firm, and I'm wondering if Sarah Hunter does the outsourcing for OCAM currently, because it might make sense, because when I had talked originally to Sarah Hunter about Sharon Ashley, she said that she'd be willing to work with her and get so many hours from Sharon Ashley and then go to Sarah Hunter's firm for more of the menial tasks. So just a way to
Yeah.
leverage things out. But I don't know what the relationship was with Sarah Hunter when she worked for the town, so I'd let you comment on it.
So the relationship was good, but she's saturated right now. That's why Open is using a different agency that's way less cost effective. So we would have to also, and I think probably one of us needs, the point he raises is a good one. Since we are losing Sharon one way or the other first week in January, we probably need to put an RFP out for the Treasury services. Since we don't currently have a procurement officer, my understanding is typically those documents would come before us and maybe have, either have town council review them, or we could, I doubt it would be above the threshold where we'd need a bunch of quotes. We could see if somebody like roughly could do our CPO work for that specific task.
Okay.
So which approach would you prefer to take? For us to draft up RFP documents and just run it by KP? Or do you want to get a quote from roughly on what it would cost to have her do the procurement on Treasury services?
I would think that town council would be pretty quick to approve something like that. So I wouldn't be opposed to town council, but
Do you want me to draft it and send it over to them?
if you're willing to do that, I'm good with it. Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Do you know if Oakham went to an RFP, or if they just,
I don't know.
Contracted
I think
services?
they just contracted services, I think they're just
I
doing
think that might be,
invoice.
I think that might be one of the things that's exempt, because I know there's certain services that are
Yeah.
exempt. So I'll check online. Yeah, anyway, so
Okay.
I'll see what I can do on both fronts, on both getting through the resumes and getting an RFP out. I'd like to make a motion that I be authorized to send draft procurement documents over to KP without necessary, I mean, I can send them through the chair, but just to save
No, I think there's more than
speed.
appropriate for you to send them right to
Okay.
KP, and,
All right,
yep, if you're willing to take that on, by all means.
so,
So, thank you. So, all in favor?
Second, and,
Oh,
yeah.
well, I don't think we, no, Beth
Yeah,
had
yeah, I
made a motion originally.
I made a motion.
And now,
We second
yeah.
it, we're in discussion, so now a vote, but that was for
And then
the,
you just made another motion,
Yeah.
right?
That was a second
Yeah.
motion. That was a
Yeah,
second
so-
motion to handle the
so-
procurement.
so let's start by taking the vote in the first one of the motion for the
Alright.
treasurer and,
Yeah, for her to reach out to the applicants.
Okay, I thought we
Yeah.
voted that. Okay,
no, we were just in discussion, I
Got
let
it.
Brad
Yeah.
speak.
Oh, that's
So,
right.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And now your second motion, do you mind
Second
just
motion
saying
is
what-
for me to draft some procurement documents to solicit for treasury services and ship that to KP and get it out as soon as it can be.
Second.
Yep. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Number 3, town administrator hiring process, et cetera. So the fact that we had very little interest in a full-time town administrator, I think it was Sarah that brought to Karen's attention the possibility of a part-time, and we had some part-time applicants. So even if we started with a part-time town administrator, I think any help we could get would be a positive.
I have a recommendation.
Let's hear it.
I think we need to post for an interim between 20 and 40 hours. And whatever we do initially is based off of that interim role. Because I will tell you, a number of the people that I contacted about the part-time position were looking for full-time, and the full-time position applicants were looking for part-time.
Interesting.
So, you know, I don't think it's the label that we put on it that got us the applicants. I think it was timing and whoever happened to be clicking on Indeed at the moment.
So, based on the people that you spoke to, did you have any gut feel for anyone, or did you have any recommendations off of your discussions?
There's one individual, and I don't want to use the name right now because it is somebody who's currently employed as a town administrator in another town. In the first
Okay.
batch of resumes, there was one person who was interested, who might actually be more interested in somewhat less than 40, but closer to full-time. There's one person who's an experienced interim that I think would potentially be a good choice, at least as an interim, that could potentially handle it as a part-time role, but I think for, and he said it was okay to use his name in open meeting, which was Charlie Blanchard. I sent everybody the list via email of both sets of reviews that I had done. There's a couple of people that I said would potentially merit an interview. So, and I didn't do the last batch. I've got about another 5 people to talk about. But I guess what I wanted to get from this meeting was, what are we hiring for? Okay, I believe it to be a full-time job. But full-time in this town is defined as, I think, 30 or 32 hours or greater. So for the right candidate who has the right skills, can they do it in less than 40 hours? I don't know if it's less than 40 hours total, but it might be less than 40 hours physically in the building. You know, because when I was talking to Charlie Blanchard, that's how he did it in, I think it was Williamstown, or I have the notes written down somewhere and I don't have them in front of me. That it was 19 to 20 hours when he was there, but that was what was in the town hall, and it was another anywhere 5 to 15 on the phone and email the rest of the week. So I think we need to understand that part-time is not necessarily part-time. And you have to be careful with that because, you know, that out-of-office time on town business is still considered work. So you do have to be a little careful about that, particularly in Massachusetts.
Well, I guess I don't mind advertising for that as well, but I wouldn't mind starting the process with Lori and Sarah had interviewed some people, and I would make a motion that Lori and Sarah interview the applicants we have and see if we can't get someone at least part-time to get started.
Okay. So were those pre-screens or were those interviews? Because I don't recall ever us as a board authorizing, like, so are we expecting the 2 of them to make a decision, or are they making a decision about who to put in front of us?
My motion would be to ask Sarah and Lori to start the process by doing interviews, nothing that's taken place, because I don't believe anything has anything, right? I mean, you're kind of surprising me with the question, but I don't think anything has taken place. The only one that's done anything is
Okay,
yourself.
well, you had just said that they had conducted some
Yep.
interviews.
With, well, who did you interview before?
The grant writer.
The grant writer, things of that
Oh,
nature. That's what-
okay.
So
All
sorry
right.
if I wasn't clear
Yeah,
about
you-
that.
yeah.
Okay.
No, I haven't talked to any of the applicants.
Okay, great. So, go ahead.
I just don't want to be under the assumption that Lori and I may pick somebody.
I think
But
if
I
you-
do agree with the fact that I think we need to do something with the applicants that we have now. We either need to tell them, no, sorry, we're not interested, or actually interview them. I don't know, I feel like I don't want them to be in lingo, waiting for months and months and months.
Right.
And then us reach back out to them and be like, oh, are you still interested? Like, I'd
Yeah, well,
rather-
even some of the calls I've been making have been basically, first I want to start, are you still in? And a lot of
Yeah,
the callbacks
yeah.
that I've gotten have been, they've already found another role.
Yeah, that's what
Right.
I mean, yeah. I don't
Um,
want to like leave them
Right.
hanging.
Do you have the 2 emails with all of my notes about who's still available and who's
Yeah.
not? Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So I
so
guess part of
guess-
my motion would be that Lori and Sarah make recommendations and bring it back to the
Right.
board.
So why are we not leveraging a full search committee like we have previously, rather than only having Sarah and Lori do it? guess would be
That's a
my
great
question.
question, but I feel like we could get the same thing accomplished and hopefully have someone sooner than later.
I don't know, I struggle only because, and I'm not saying this was a bad idea, I think it was a good idea. You already pre-screened, and have notes, so I feel like that would have been the job of the search committee to figure out kind of pre-screening and to figure out that role. So I don't know, at this point, I feel like the 3 of us could do it. And I'm not taking away from the search committee. I think that they did a wonderful job. I think that they would do a wonderful job again. I just think at this point, we already have the notes of who's interested, who's not interested.
So the advantage to the
So-
search committee, and I'll just give you the reasons why and why not, right, at this point, is that you can only tell so much from a phone screen. And I'll be
Yeah.
the first person to tell you that, right? You can gauge interest and you can get at least some idea of whether the person even knows what they're talking about or not. You can't, for those that are currently employed, like in a role, and they don't want to kind of alert their employer to the fact that they're looking, we can't bring them in for an interview in anything except open session.
That's true.
And so the primary benefit of a search committee is that it allows you to use a process where you can at least get a first-line interview with experienced hiring managers or people that have been in roles where they've had to do talent search before, with a certain amount of security and privacy, so that they don't necessarily wind up in the terribly awkward position of their employer knowing that they're looking until they're at least far enough that they're in basically the final interview with us. And as much as I want to fill this position sooner rather than later, which is why I offered to do the phone screen so we could go through the slush pile, because we didn't seem to have a process yet, we may have hit the point where we have to go slow to go fast. Right, so, the skills that the team brought to the hiring process, I know here we are again over a very short period of time, working on our 3rd town administrator, I get it, but I can tell you that hindsight's 20/20, and it wasn't for the sake of not having a solid process and doing some really thorough interviewing that we wound up where we wound up. So, but that's my recommendation would be to form up a committee by virtue of the fact that it allows you to do the first full thorough interview in privacy, in an executive session. It doesn't expose people who might not be prepared to tell their employer they're looking yet, in the uncomfortable position of they're rolling the dice on that interview going well for first pass through.
I'm just at the point where I feel like if we hired a part-time town administrator, and if someone in the group that's already applied meets that criteria, we could still continue to look for a full-time position. This could be just simply the interim, and then at that rate, if it works out, it's great. If it doesn't, we haven't lost anything.
So there's a big difference between hiring part-time and hiring interim.
Mhm.
By posting it part-time, the expectation is that is a part-time permanent position. We need to repost as an interim if what you
Okay.
want to do is try before you buy.
Mhm.
And I'm down with that. And what we could do, reposting it as interim, we could still recontact the
I'd
people
like
we've
to-
talked to and
But I'd
do that.
also like to repost all three again instead of, like, just to freshen up the post, freshen it up to where
Shows up in
it's a
search
different,
engines.
it's at, exactly, and it's at a different time where someone may just throw the hat in the ring and we have new blood. But I'm really,
All right, so I'll make a motion that we repost it, 3 distinct postings, part-time, interim, full-time. Or you could do it as a single posting, well, no, I don't think you could, I think you can do the part-time or full-time as a single posting. I think you could, and I think that when we post the interim, you would put a range of hours.
Yeah, and I kind of want to put it in the posting and make it clear that we're looking for one of those 3, not all 3. So that way they're not applying to more than one position.
Oh, so people have thrown their resume at both?
Yeah,
Well, that, in part, that also may be just by virtue of the fact that they don't know which one's the
Exactly.
active
yeah,
or current one.
active current one is, yeah. So I think we should just make it clear that we're looking for one out of those 3, and then in that conversation, if we do, then we can have that conversation of what they're looking for
Yep,
in the interview or in the pre-screen of what the needs are.
yep.
all right,
You have a hand.
oh, come on up.
Did you have a question?
Don Taft, 20, Lane 21. At 2 separate annual town meetings, the voters voted for a full-time town administrator at 1 year. The following year, they voted to fund the full-time town administrator. I think this is a full-time position, and I think that's where it should remain. And if you are thinking about making it part-time, I think you need to go back to the voters and get their opinion before you decide to change it. If you're looking for an interim, that's an interim. But I think it needs to be a full-time position. That's what the people voted for. That's what they supported. That's what you're supposed to support, is what your people want. That's what they voted for. I would really suggest that you not consider going part-time. Interim, possibly. But I do not think that going to a part-time town administrator is what the people voted for. Thank you.
So I just want to make it really clear that the only reason that we even considered part-time is just for some help, because we've not had any full-time applicants. We're not trying to disagree with what the voters, I agree with that, and if, my thought is if we got someone part-time, they like the position, they were willing to stay, then it would go more to a full-time position, but we'll see.
I have a thought on that, though, and you just said it actually before. So maybe it's just a case of you post for the town administrator position, right? And it may not be that we got more resumes because it said part-time. We may have just gotten more resumes because it popped up the week of Thanksgiving. And people were
Yeah.
off from
Yeah.
work and they threw their resumes against it. Because I will tell you, of the people that applied to that role, I think 3 out of the 4 were looking for full-time when they applied for the part-time position.
Which is fine. My thought on posting was I just don't want to see the position not filled for months and months and months, and us just keep reposting for
It's
a
just
full-time.
too much,
And
it's
not
too
going
much work.
anywhere.
It's too much work for us not to have a town administrator, to your point. We're not trying to go against the voters, but we're trying to get some help in here as soon as possible.
Yeah,
So,
we're losing a treasurer. We're not going to have a treasurer to do HR. We're not potentially, we're not gonna have a treasurer to do treasurer duties, we don't have a town administrator, we don't have a procurement officer, I mean, like, the list goes on, so.
I know.
Come on up, Steve, thank you.
Steve Carmen, 57A Molasses Hill Road. I sent an email to the select board about a month ago when I caught wind of that job posting for the town administrator part-time. And that raised a flag for me because there was no open discussion among the select board to change the classification of the town administrator position from full-time to part-time. And in that email, I cited our general bylaws, chapter 15, the personnel bylaw. And in there, it says underneath section 3, employee categories, that employees may be changed from one category to another category only after review and approval by the department head, the personnel board, and the select board. It sounds like a decision was made in private by select board members outside of open session, which does not give you authority to make decisions outside of our bylaws. So I understand that you need to fill this position, but could you please just keep the public informed of these decisions and among your board where you have authority, as opposed to individuals outside of open meetings where you do not have that authority? Because from as a citizen of this town, it seems concerning when there's decisions being made outside of open meetings. If these are important decisions to be made, I get there's a need to fill this role because of a lack of the job being filled at this point, and it needs to be filled. But if it needs to be converted to part-time or interim, have an open discussion about that so you're in accordance with the bylaws and also the awareness of the residents of Brookfield. Thank you.
One, I would like to know who the personnel board is, because I believe that they don't exist, and it's the Board of Selectmen. And just to make myself clear, I did not ask Karen to post the position. I told Karen to find out if it was an idea. I did not give her a price to post the position for the $40,000 to $60,000. I did not give her that, and I did not give her the amount of hours. All I said was to see if it would be a good idea to post for a part-time position. So no decision was made outside of the board. So I want to make that very clear.
All right, I'm going to have no rebuttal to that, but this is where we are, where a part-time position was posted without authority of the select board. And by our bylaws, it requires the authority of the select board to change the employee categorization. So you can fix that now. That's all I'm saying.
Thanks, Steve.
Yep.
So again, to be very clear, we need help. We're a volunteer board essentially. We need help. So when I heard Sarah asked Karen about the idea of posting it as a part-time position, I said, whatever we can do to get more help. We have all kinds of vacancies in this town that are not filled and not filled for a long time. So there's no intent to go around the townspeople and what they voted at a town meeting. It was simply to try to get some help to the select board. Jacob?
We have somebody online, their hand up.
Okay, who is it?
Chris?
Go ahead, Chris.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I have some concerns that when we go from full-time, we've had full-time for many years, and we're going to go to a part-time, even temporarily, who picks up that slack? Does that mean that Karen's workload increases, Mike's workload increases, or do those tasks just not get done? Because when you're covering man-hours, those man-hours, there's a job for 30 hours. It doesn't change just because you said, oh, well, we're going to get a part-timer and see if they want to change their hours later. And I'm glad Mr. Carmen spoke because I was not going to speak because like, wait a minute, did I miss a meeting? Because I don't remember this ever being discussed, and I'm going to speak about something I don't know about. And I echo what he says. This should have been discussed in a meeting, saying, hey, we're considering reducing this from a full-time to a part-time. These are the reasons why, A, B, C, D, and explain it to the public. Because when I'm sitting here listening to you guys before Ms. Carmen spoke, I'm like, did I miss something? And I agree. It should be discussed in open session. And we do have a personnel board. I don't know if that board has vacancies, they don't have a quorum, or whatever the case may be. But we absolutely do have one. And on a side note, we have a lot of vacancies, and I think that's something we may want to look at later. You know, why do we have so many vacancies? Because I think there is something that needs to be addressed there. There's some real underlying issues. But to circle back, to reiterate, I'd like to know how we do this. We go from full-time to part-time, and where do all those extra tasks go? Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Hearing none.
So let's,
How would you like to proceed?
my thought would be, I'd like to post an interim that says between 20 and 40 hours, because interim, there's a high likelihood that applicants would be retired state workers that potentially can only work a certain number of hours. I think our definition of full-time is, and we'd have to check the bylaw, I believe it's 30 hours and above.
It's
Mhm.
20
Is it 20?
for full-time.
I thought that was part-time regular, because we have three categories. We have under 19, which is part-time. There's part-time benefited, which is 20 to 30, I thought, and then there was 30 and above was full-time.
Do you have the bylaws handy? It's
I'll pull them up.
Chapter 15, Section 3, employee categories.
So it's anything over 20 is full-time?
Full-time, I can speak into the microphone if you
Yeah.
like.
Would you?
It's just,
I don't have it up. I thought we used to have 3 tiers, but maybe they changed
I
it.
thought so too.
yeah, these are our bylaws. This particular line item for full-time classification was last amended June 3rd, 2022.
Okay.
And the definition of full-time is an employee whose regular and continuous work schedule consists of 20 hours per week.
Oh, I remember, because they decided that it made no sense to have 2 different classifications because
the same
of the
benefits.
benefits are the same and
benefits.
same
Once
cost.
you're over to 19, it's
So
the same benefits.
so when they did the clarification of the bylaws, they actually got rid of the 3rd category. That's what I get for being the original.
So we could hire a full-time TA at 20 hours?
20
At 20, not 15,
Right,
but 20.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Right. So,
and the posting says 15 to 20.
so I think what we do is we modify, I think we do one single posting for for the permanent town administrator and one for interim, both saying between 20 and 40 hours depending on, I don't know if we want to phrase it as experience or,
I'm
mutual
gonna
alignment.
say on whatever they're willing to
Well,
give, and if they're a
Right, but
competent person,
but in writing,
Uh,
I'm saying is
yeah.
like, I'm trying to figure out the verbiage to put in the posting, which would be, 20 to 40 hours, depending on what, availability and experience?
Yeah, there's some language I could try and
Find some language?
Yeah, to send to Karen.
Yeah, so let's make it 2 separate postings, one for the permanent role, one for an interim role. Have both of them have the same wiggle room relative to hours. That does technically comply with
mhm,
the bylaws.
all right. Do you mind coming up to speak?
Or is it open still? We did have.
Come up and speak.
Hold on, first
Oh.
in the back.
Who was it, Chris or what?
Brad.
Brad, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to let people, it's important to recognize that the community awareness and concerns already exist, and that information related to these matters has been referred to outside authorities to review. But I think the other thing that needs to be added to this agenda going forward, from a personnel standpoint, is governance and how this position is going to look going forward in regards to working with the employees and having some sort of organizational hierarchy within the select board.
Are you done?
So what he's saying is we need to better define what the role of the town administrator is and what role they play relative to, are they supervisory relative to the department heads? Is the Board of Selectmen more of a policy board versus a operational control board? Those sorts of questions, that's actually part of our town construct. So we have the language in our bylaws that we probably need to review and make sure that the direction we give and the goals that we set are consistent with what we voted as a town relative to that individual's position and role.
So the job description.
Hold on. If you would like to speak, I don't mind you speaking, but I'm gonna let.
I'm sorry.
So we're starting to get off. I don't want this to just go everywhere. So do you mind just coming up and we're gonna take it in order? And I'll give you all the time to
This is
speak.
good stuff, you know, I mean, I'm learning as we go along too, so.
Shelby Hill, you're welcome, 4 Lincoln Street Extension. So I heard a couple of things that, as a citizen, I'm a little concerned. Obviously, you guys know that I pay attention to what's going on in town, and we try our best to make a positive impact. The past couple of years, I don't know what it is. I don't know the answer to this, so I'm hoping that maybe there can be some research done. The past couple of years, there has been a lot of people leaving positions. Committees, volunteer.
Shelby, I'm going to hold you
Yep.
to the topic.
Okay. Well, Sarah mentioned it. That's why she was saying, and that's what brought it up. She mentioned this board is vacant, this board is vacant, this board is vacant. So if you could let me know when I'm okay to speak about that, that would be great. At what topic?
It's probably not on, but if you would
Okay.
if you would like to have that, that would be something we could actually schedule. But
Okay.
we get a ton of open meeting law
Sure.
complaints, so being
Yeah,
on top of it,
absolutely. So,
I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to.
no, that's okay. I respect that. That's fine. What's the best avenue to do that?
We will put that on the next agenda.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelby.
Is there someone else, or?
Nope, you're up next, sir.
Jeff Clark, 101 Brunel Avenue. So two specific questions. One, just getting back to what I was trying to ask Beth, I thought it was very clear in the last search committee we had for a town administrator that the job description was very clearly outlined as far as what all the roles and responsibilities were, but I guess we didn't, did that mean we're not in sync with whatever the governance or the bylaws state? Is that what you're saying? Or I'm not?
I'd actually have to pull up the town administrator job description. I think the challenge is not what's in writing, but it's been in the execution against what's been in writing, if that makes any sense. We need to make sure that what we have in writing is actually how we're going to be doing business.
Okay, I mean, but that also goes towards the leadership and governance role of the select board as far as being in unison or sync as far as directing the town administrator for the best duties or whatever of the town, best benefits of the town. And so my second point is that I'm sitting here, I've been fairly involved in the last 7 or 8 years in the town activities, but I'm getting confused as far as interim, part-time, and full-time. And I'm sure that people who are applying might get confused also. I mean, I think we should just try to have this interim situation resolved as quickly as possible, but I don't understand the difference between interim and full-time. If someone is interim and they're good enough, then they should continue on. They should just be hired for the position. And that's what I'm unclear about, why we're going through all these muddling to get to where we want to be, which is a full-time administrator who's permanent. I'm not.
So I'm going to say that the administrator's position was here long before I became on the board. So I would have thought that it probably would, what was voted at the town meeting, I would have thought that's how the administrative's job description was written. Do you, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but why don't we review that and see if there's changes we need to make to it,
Okay.
right? Like, I don't expect that
I
you
think we
would
have to put it
remember.
on the next
Yeah,
agenda, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's not on there, but I think it would be good for us to go back through it.
Simply review it,
Yep,
okay.
Okay,
so.
Thank you.
thank you.
But I think fundamentally, and if you don't mind, it's not intended to be confusing, right? So, and I think at the end of the day, I think the confusion may have been caused by a well-intended thinking for whatever reason, and I don't know what may have generated the thought, that for some reason it being a full-time position, which is why we weren't necessarily getting appropriate applicants, right? I don't know that that was the driver or not, just the action of reposting, and for anybody who's done job searches, you probably know or if you do IT stuff, you probably know, just the act of freshening something on the internet sometimes changes its visibility, changes its priority on sites, things like that. So I think some of the confusion is, hey, we had this posting out, we got X resumes, hey, we put this other posting out, suddenly we've got a bunch more resumes, and they seemed little better aligned, right, to the actual role. My recommendation to post interim and permanent is that if we're not ready to make a permanent decision, or if we think that we only have people that, for whatever reason, you might have somebody that looks nominally qualified, but may not have all of the credentials, or they have a lot of credentials but can't do, may not be able to serve for a full year for various reasons. There may be an option to bring somebody in as an interim to at least get us to town meeting, and then and give us some runway, because a lot of the people who move, who are professional town administrators, they don't move in January. They move on the fiscal year. So an interim would.
And they stay more than 2 years.
Right, and they stay more than 2 years.
Yeah.
Right, so the purpose of an interim would really be to try to get us on cycle with when professional full-time folks serving their full term are actually available and on the job market. So
For
to-
the money that we're asking too.
Right.
And that plays a huge role in it too. We're not asking for a lot of money for 40 hours a week, if that's the expectation.
Right,
At
for
least
the,
I
for,
don't
for the,
think we
for the
are.
budget that we have, right, we're low-ish, but I will tell you that some of the folks that I've talked to, right, one of them knew he would be taking a pay cut to come to our town, but was hoping to get some better quality of life because of the way that their particular,
Yeah.
the construct of their job today. And if it
Yeah.
was something that could be worked out or negotiated, then they were willing to take the pay cut to have, not be, and granted, we might run long tonight, but to not be leaving their select board meeting at 11 o'clock at night and be expected back in at 7:30 in the morning the next day.
Which is,
Like,
which is
right?
understandable, yeah.
Versus I think we could talk reasonably and say, hey, you know what, if they're at the select board meeting until 9 o'clock at night, we don't need to see them until 10 o'clock the next morning, or 11 o'clock the next morning, right? As long as they get their work done,
Yep.
right? I mean, that's the type of thing that as a smaller town, we can offer to somebody from a, from a standpoint of
Yeah.
a little bit of flexibility. So, so I get it, we don't pay, we're not trying to compete with some of the big
No,
towns.
but we can't,
Right.
but we need, I think we just need somebody that wants to find somebody that wants the
that
flexibility and that understands that, the money isn't the main object.
Yeah, you have to find somebody at the right point in their career where money's not everything,
Yeah, yeah.
so.
All right, moving on, number 4, Community Development Block Grant, CDBG extension form. Someone want to make a motion to sign this?
Motion to sign the extension form for fiscal year 22-23 grant.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Number 5, signed Department of Environmental Protection grant funding documents.
Do we want to just, and I'm sorry, before you move on, just so that everybody knows, we are not asking for the extension because the project didn't happen. It's that the Kimball Street project has come in under budget and it leaves some unspent funds, and the extension is to give us time to consider what's the appropriate use of that funds. Okay, so I want to commend everybody. Kyle, you probably played a role in making sure that the pre-work was done in a way that helped them come in under budget, I'll assume. So I just want to make sure we recognize that as a success.
Well, I mean, the other thing is they had $1 million to work with in 1,500 feet versus Kyle worked with $1 million on several miles. So there's a big difference in the work. So, yeah, so that's great that we can have the extension to try to utilize that
properly,
money.
yeah.
So, all right. So I'd entertain a motion to sign the Department of Environmental Protection grant funding.
So moved?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Can I bring up a topic that can't be reasonably anticipated by the chair at this point, because it kind of fits the topics of what we're on?
Is it
It's, and it's because
Don't
it's
get me
a,
in trouble.
I'm trying, well, that's why I'm announcing it as
yeah.
an item that could not be reasonably anticipated by
Okay.
the chair. Because in the last 24 hours, I've been back and forth via email with Ashley Cambrera, Special Projects Manager for the Mass Cultural Council.
Okay.
So they've been sending the first step in the documentation to our town administrator account, but I think they might have been sending it to the wrong town administrator account, needing a signature so that then they can send out secondary packets for us to sign to the board.
Okay.
And whose name should I tell them to send it to get to who we're going to authorize to be the first line signature so we can get our annual cultural council grants?
Sure,
I was going to
sure.
say you, but I just
Yeah,
wanted to
that's
make
fine,
sure that I
sure.
was sending them to the right place.
Okay.
So if you can
And
just
they're
keep an
gonna
eye
go
out.
through the email.
Yeah, if
okay.
you can just keep an
Yeah.
eye out for the email,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Can
tell
can
this
we?
to you.
Why don't we do mine and the town email for Karen, the select board email?
Okay,
And then we'll have duplication then?
yep, and that way, if you don't see it, she'll
Yeah.
see it come through.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you for entertaining
Yeah.
that.
All right, number 6, common vic license, White's Landing and Dollar General. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Request for the use of the town hall on 1/10/26 for Tip Top. It's their co-op quarterly meeting.
Yes, I can, I've already committed that I'll open the building if we vote yes. So,
Okay. So,
I'll make a motion to
Second,
approve.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Number 8, the Maya fiscal year property valuation update. I see, we should post that so that anyone that wants to see those valuations, that it's,
Sorry.
all right. Number 9, emergency medical squad reports for October and November. And there are a couple, let's see, congratulations to Donna LaFleur. I see she's here tonight. So 49 years out of October 1st. Thank you very much for your service. And then EMT Advanced Matthew Roderick, he's at 17 years, so thank him very much for the time he's given to town. And then in November's report, EMT Terry Anderson, she's been here 32 years, which is great, so. Donna, would you pass that along? That we appreciate all of you. All right. Number 10, approve select board minutes, 10/28/25, regular meeting, executive session meeting, 11/25/25, and executive session meeting minutes of 12/9/25. Do I have a motion?
I just want to check for a couple
Hold on,
things real
hold on.
quick, because I didn't get a chance to review all of them. make a motion to accept the minutes as written. Which extension is this? Board office?
So I'll second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Number 11. I put this on the agenda so that the public would know what's going on and how we could have a police cruiser totaled from the stop line on Prouty Street to the first telephone pole on Central Street. It's probably like 8 feet. So a couple weeks ago, I was asked by a resident, how did the police cruiser get totaled on Central Street? I wasn't even aware that we had a police cruiser totaled. So after the resident told me that, after 14 days, I called the police chief and I asked him what happened. He said that he had sent an email to the town administrator and to the administrative assistant. So after checking into it, town administrator didn't notify any of the select board, nor did the administrative assistant. So I asked Karen how that could have happened. She said she totally missed it.
Well, I assume that, the truth is I totally assume because it was sent to the TA and he was still working that he was
Okay.
taking care of it.
All right, so that's how that happened. So when I asked Mike Blanchard to send the information, our chief, he said that basically 6 days after the cruiser was totaled, he had sent notification to the town administrator and Karen Trainer. And I thought that was absolutely, the fact that I learned about it 14 days after it happened, I was kind of agitated. So then when I asked him about it, I was still kind of hot that he didn't send it prior to 6 days. If anyone here had a motor vehicle accident, and no matter who you work for, you would notify them prior to 6 days, I would expect. So then, secondly, as I dug into it a little more, that our policy is that if there's a cruiser accident or any motor vehicle accident in the police department, that if it's over $2,500 or the person's the lone occupant of the vehicle, that a blood alcohol test would be performed. They would be sent to the hospital. That was not done either. So based on those facts, I asked the chief to come into an executive session to talk about it. Mostly because when I go to speak to someone individually, I'm being told that I'm too hard on them, I'm not doing it the right way. I work for a select board, I'm one of 3 people. So I said, okay, I'm gonna take this the right way. We're gonna do it in executive session. Now, there's no nice way to call someone into an executive session based on the law and how you do it. So as a result, the police chief was highly offended. He didn't mean to offend him in any way. I just wanted to get the facts so that I could present it to the people of Brookfield. It's almost incomprehensible to me that a police cruiser could be totaled from the stop line on Prouty Street 8 feet over to the telephone pole on Central Street. So I wanted to hear firsthand how it happened. So that was the reason we called him in for an executive session. That's my take on it.
Okay.
Now, I'd also like to read the executive session minutes to the public that's here, and anyone is welcome to a copy of it. Sarah, do you feel like reading it? I don't have my glasses. Karen, do you mind reading it?
Okay, I'm going to start with November 25th, 2025, executive session under exemption number 1. Chair Sarah E. Campbell opened the executive session at approximately 8:20 p.m. The Select Board questioned Police Chief Michael Blanchard regarding a cruiser accident that occurred on 11/7/25. This was a single-vehicle accident involving Officer Egbert Pinero, where the cruiser hit a pole, causing $2,500 in damages. Selectman Richard Chafee stated he was disheartened to learn of the accident from a resident. Chief Blanchard notified the town administrator and Select Board assistant on 11/13/25 via email of the accident. Mr. Chafee told the chief he was not upset about the accident, but upset it took 6 days to report, and felt that notice should have been sent to the individual Select Board members. He also said the chief didn't follow policy on how accidents are handled, noting a blood test was not ordered. Chief Blanchard said the reason he emailed the accident information later is because it took 6 days to gather all the information, and he wanted to have all the facts before sending notice.
Can you pause for just a minute?
Yeah.
I know that we already voted to approve the minutes, but when we get to the portion of the statement that I made, the way that it's phrased is actually inaccurate.
Okay, so stop me when I get there.
Okay, I'm gonna
Okay.
stop you when you get there, and actually I'm gonna make a motion to amend the
Okay.
line, because what's in there doesn't actually represent what my
Okay.
statement was.
Sometimes I type fast and I have to
No, and
abbreviate.
it's a very subtle difference.
Okay,
So-
all right,
so
that's
I'm
fine.
not saying that it's erroneous via any ill
Okay.
intent. I just want to clarify something
Okay.
when we get there. Thank you.
That's fine. Okay, so he noted that he sent the report to the town administrator, who he was told was working from home. Chief Blanchard told the board he is astonished that the cruiser, a 2021 Ford Explorer, is considered a total loss, adding he didn't think this was a significant accident with $2,500 in damages. Ms. Campbell asked the chief when Officer Pinero informed him about the accident. He replied he was immediately notified and that the cruiser was drivable and was driven back to the police department. Chief Blanchard stated Mr. Pinero called the state trooper barracks in Brookfield to report the accident. He told the board that Officer Pinero stated that he pulled up to a stop sign on Prouty and Central Streets to put in a log for street patrol. He said he stopped before Central Street and wasn't as far forward as he thought. He cut the wheel to take the corner and hit the telephone pole. The laptop screen was blocking the view of the utility pole, and when he pulled up, he hit the pole. Mr. Blanchard clarified the officer was stopped when he was logging. Ms. Campbell stated the area in question is not a safe place, as it is a tight turn for a two-way road, and the officer should not have been parked there to log. Mr. Chafee said there should be accommodations moving forward so that a laptop screen does not impair an officer's view, adding it should be verified that we don't have situations where the screens are obstructing views. He also suggested officers should park in a safe place to log or go through dispatch to report patrol logs. Ms. Coughlin stated she is not sure why an executive session is necessary for this matter. Is that what it is?
So what I recall saying,
Okay.
and if you all remember something different, I stated that this matter was not actually an executive session topic.
Okay.
The executive session topic that we entered executive session under that night is for discussing somebody's character and for misbehavior up to and including dismissal. And if our intent was to investigate procedural things that we didn't agree with, or process things that we didn't agree with, or investigate something that was not necessarily character related, right? Even a delay in reporting, unless we think we have inaccurate reporting, or some other, like the intent was to conceal, which from a conversation I had before the meeting, there didn't appear to be any intent to conceal. It shouldn't have been an executive session topic. So the statement I made was, I didn't think that the content of the session actually qualified for executive session under the exemption that we went into session under.
Before you make any changes, because I don't remember any part of that in the conversation. Unless I totally fell asleep, I do not remember that. I do remember you saying.
So you basically said, let's move on, when I said that. So I
No.
made the statement, I didn't think the topic was an executive
Hold on,
session
I'd like
topic.
to hear from Sarah on that. Did I say let's move on?
Listen, I'm not getting into the two of it. I abstained. I don't agree with the minutes, so I'm not willing to discuss. She wants to make the edit, she can make
I
the
mean,
edit.
basically I said that the topic we were in there for was not an executive session
Okay.
topic.
Is that what you want to amend
So-
it to be? Just say that sentence.
Well, I didn't, and that's not the exact language that I used. What I said was that what we were talking about was not executive session material. I think is an accurate paraphrasing of what I said. And seriously, if you abstain because you think there's material
Yeah, what is it?
inadequacies
What's wrong?
in the minutes, then,
Listen, it's not about the accuracy. I'm too picky. I do the minutes myself. I have a different style. I'm not allowed to use he. I'm not allowed to use they, their. It's just a totally different style. And
Probably more formal.
yes, it's a
Which
lot
I
more
can do
formal.
if that's what you want.
So I'm just, for those reasons,
Right.
I have too many edits.
Yeah.
And it's nothing against Karen.
right,
So Beth, maybe I missed something of what you said. I do remember you saying you didn't think that it was important for us to be having that.
that was
Well,
not what I
so-
said.
So I'm just.
I did not say
I'm
it was
just-
unimportant. What I said was that,
Can I finish? And
Okay.
I'll let you speak.
okay,
I got out of it that you didn't think it was necessary to be asking the chief for the executive session. That's what I remember, but I
Yeah,
may have
no.
missed what you said, so I'll
Yeah.
concede to what you're saying.
yeah, my point was we should not have been in executive session for that conversation, because the content and the questions asked were inconsistent with us being in executive session.
So I'll disagree on the one point, that if there was a reason that if I didn't believe what the chief was telling us, we could have disciplined him. He violated the policy by not ordering the blood test. There were two portions that triggered.
Job performance is open session. Failing to follow the
discipline-
procedure is open
But
session.
discipline
We
is
wouldn't,
not.
but we wouldn't
Well,
discipline that night.
you don't know that we wouldn't. I felt strong that he could be, based on the fact that he violated the policy that talked about any motor vehicle accident that's over $2,500 or a single occupant in the vehicle triggered the blood test.
So if we were going to give discipline and we didn't run that document past town council, we'd be fools.
It doesn't mean it couldn't happen under that exemption that we took. We
The
probably
decision,
wouldn't have.
the
I
decision
wasn't
wouldn't have been
looking.
made yet. So
It
the
wasn't.
No, we are on topic, we're on the topic of the minutes, okay? And, okay, if you wanna say that that's not on topic, that's fine. But my,
I'm
my,
good. I'm comfortable to keep moving.
okay, we can keep moving, but I wanted to reflect that the objection I expressed was that I did not think the material we were covering qualified for the exemption.
That will be in the minutes.
Well, you're making a motion to
Yeah,
amend.
making a motion to
right?
amend.
But I'm not seconding it. You'll have to ask Sarah to, we already voted the minutes. So if Sarah wants to weigh in, she's welcome to, but I'm not gonna second that, because that's not what I,
Well, I'm not changing my vote. I abstained, so. Jeez.
Do you want me to finish reading?
please.
Okay.
So no action taken. Do you agree with that, Duff?
Of course I don't agree with that. I would ask that we revote.
I'm saying
this.
that no action be taken based on, I didn't second your motion.
So procedurally, you are accurate.
Okay.
I think it's
All right.
inappropriate, but I think you're procedurally accurate. If we can't get a second for my motion, then I guess the minutes will stand because it took a second reading on that line to recognize that it did not accurately represent my intent of the statement.
But it will be in these minutes.
But it will be in these minutes.
All right, fair enough.
Okay, all right. Ms. Campbell questioned why a blood test wasn't performed, noting that just the fact that Officer Panera was the sole driver triggers a requirement to obtain a drug and alcohol blood test according to the police union contract. Chief Blanchard said according to the contract, it's up to the administrative assistant to set up a drug test. but he noted it's not clear if it refers to the administrative assistant for the police department or the select board office. Attorney Gambaccini stated it would behoove the town to have town council look over the contract, noting that just because the driver is in an accident doesn't mean a drug and alcohol test is required. Ms. Coughlin stated she believes the officers had accepted that clause in the contract, but the town should reach out to town council to confirm the matter. Ms. Coughlin said that if the state police saw the officer was impaired, they would have noted and reported it. Regarding the blood test, Ms. Coughlin stated a policy has to be universally communicated, noting the town has had issues with other departments. She noted the town needs to put in an infrastructure to be able to obtain a blood test if it is in the contracts. Chief Blanchard told the board he was not aware of the cruiser's speed when the accident happened, and he is not sure of he's not sure if the information is available in the cruiser data. It was noted that the Ford dealers should be contacted to find out if there's any internal data that can be accessed. Mr. Chafee remarked the board's vote to install GPS on cruisers was met with resistance, noting this accident is a clear example of how it would have helped the officer and not hurt him. Chief Blanchard reported the cruiser is insured for replacement cost, and there's a cruiser on the local dealer's lot, noting that everything usable on the cruiser has to be transferred to the new cruiser. He said he will notify the board of the replacement cost. Ms. Campbell asked if the state police report is available. Chief Blanchard said he would check. Ms. Campbell stated her expectations going forward is that no matter how little the damage is, if a police officer gets into an accident, she wants to be contacted immediately via text, phone call, or email. She noted she would have liked to know Officer Pinera was in the accident, as she lives on Central Street and could have walked there. Mr. Blanchard apologized again, stating he didn't think the accident was as major of an issue as it is. He agreed that in the future, he will notify the chair immediately of any accidents. His apology was accepted and the select board encouraged moving forward. And then they adjourned at 9:28 p.m.
So, moving forward to number 12, reason for the police officer executive session.
You want me to read that one too?
I would, if you don't mind.
Okay. Executive session number
Oh,
one.
Hold on, there's some. Who has a question? Brad?
We didn't vote to
Yeah,
release these.
yeah, I had a question, because it seems like it's a slippery slope with this whole discussion. So in one part, I hear that the vehicle was totaled, but it sounds like to me it was a low-speed fender bender, which, my question, I haven't seen the vehicle. I imagine you guys have seen this vehicle, but I mean, would a reasonable person be able to tell that this vehicle was totaled?
No one's even questioned about totaled. That's not, that was never a question, Brad.
Well, actually, I
The
think,
question was, well, I did hear it was totaled, and he verbally told me the cruiser was totaled 14 days after the accident. I was verbally told. But
Right, but he might have not understood that it was totaled based on it not, a reasonable person not being able to tell that the vehicle was totaled.
He may not have.
Because it sounds like it was a fender bender and it was at a low speed.
He may not have been able to tell it was totaled, certainly, but there were two other points there, Brett. One, the $2,500 mark, that I didn't put in there. I didn't put that. That's not a number that I came up with. This was all in place before I was voted a selectman. And secondly, the portion that triggered the blood and alcohol test would have been the sole occupant. And that again, I didn't insert into the contract. That was already there when I got it.
And I want to make a comment. I have not seen the vehicle. I have yet to see the damage on the vehicle.
And when I went to the police station, the vehicle wasn't there, so I have not seen the vehicle either.
and I will tell you, I've been through a couple rounds of the police contract negotiations. That appendix has been standing in its current form since the original police contract, because it was the town policy at the time. And I don't think any of the parties negotiating that contract have even read that amendment, because everyone's been so focused on the financial and structural questions within the contract. So I'm
That's
not.
on them, though.
But it is in there. So it is legitimately in there, but I think one of the things we need to be aware of, and it's a note for both sides of the negotiations in that, is that we have content in that contract that probably has not been supported, reviewed, and quite frankly, as the minutes noted, that we don't have the infrastructure in place and the supporting procedures in place to make sure that we're executing everybody's responsibilities under the contract.
Well, the one thing that was made clear to me was we need town council to firm up the procedure, how we move forward, and we need some help on that, and the police need clarification on how to do that portion better. But the biggest thing that I got out of the executive session, and the thing that I'm gonna push for, is that there's no reason to use one of those laptops. When we talked about it in the executive session, they are more than able to have the dispatch center use the dispatch center to make their logs for them, so it's safer. Because my concern was, what if it was a pedestrian? What if it was a child, right? I mean, a kid going to school, like, so that was my big concern on how to make sure something simple like that doesn't happen again. That was really what I wanted to get out of it. The police chief, and I want to add, the police chief wasn't disciplined, he wasn't scolded, he wasn't spoke to inappropriately. It was an informational session. And once I heard what happened, you can't take every accident out of the world. But this is one that may have been avoided by logging through dispatch. So, who has their hand up?
Chris.
Go ahead, Chris.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the concerns that I have is that, we're criticizing the chief saying that, that there was over $2,500 worth of damage. But I can tell you from my own personal experience, I got into a car accident. I drove all the way home, which was a 45-minute drive, and 3 days later, the insurance company says it's a total loss. And I was livid because all it was this minor front-end damage. The tire was flat by the time I got home. It looked fine. And I really like that car. But, so, if we're going to say that the chief is being penalized because he didn't alert us because it was over $2,500, then was he properly trained to be an insurance appraiser? Because if he's not, then we're holding to a standard that he's just not qualified for. And something that really raises concern to me is, we're talking, we have contracts, and there's responsibilities in that contract. And in the executive session minutes, Ms. Campbell says that she wants to be notified on every single accident, regardless. So now the chief has to notify the clerk of the select board if there's an accident, regardless of the amount. Is that going to, how does that work since we already have a written contract with them? I'm confused on that part.
The contract, can I interrupt him really quick?
Well, let him
Yeah,
speak.
no, that's great.
Let him speak.
I
and
just
then
want to clarify, the contract is not with the police chief, the contract is with the police officers.
Right, the union.
Yeah, Chief Blanchard is not part of that union.
If I may.
Oh, it's not.
No,
Yeah.
he is not.
And if I may, the request of a member of the Board of Selectmen to get contacted is more of a,
Ask.
it's a procedural or a courtesy. It's not necessarily.
Which he agreed to.
Yeah, it's not necessarily like changing the terms of either the contract or anything else. In that instance, it's not necessarily inappropriate. I think it does raise the question of, to a certain extent, of level of supervision, and I think it would be better if that was more clearly communicated universally. Like, you said that to the chief, but have we sent out something to all the department heads that say, hey, if you have any accident, until you know how much the cost of the accident is gonna be, please do a do not reply, send out to all communication to the select board, especially in the absence of a town administrator. So I think from a standpoint, I think one of the things we have to be careful of, right, is that, okay, you told Chief Blanchard that, and he's fine with it.
Yeah.
But we need to then come back into a meeting like this, have the discussion, send it out as a policy, hey,
As a whole board, yes.
As a whole board.
Yeah, if we all agree, yes.
let's have the department heads, if they have any type of accident, any type of injury or any type of vehicle damage, they should be notifying the whole board with a do not reply, text or email.
The one thing I would say to that is, this job as a select board would require as much time as you can throw at it. You can put 80 hours a week into this if you want. So my whole point in this whole thing is to try to get a town administrator to help with these bigger things, right?
Yes,
And
no,
I
he
see
could-
this
or
as,
he or
I
she
see
could have been
this
notified.
is a town administrator task head. We had one.
Yep.
The town administrator could have easily dealt with the police chief and the officer and then reported back to us that we did not need to get involved with. But the fact that we don't have one is putting us behind the 8 ball.
We had one, he just didn't answer, so. Let's make that
that's-
clear.
You got a good point there, yep.
We had one, he just wasn't willing to answer.
So, all right.
So,
So again, my concern was that I found out about the accident from a resident in town 14 days after the vehicle was totaled. Put yourself in my shoes, how you would think as a selectman. But- All right, Karen, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay, well, the next one is December 9th, 2025, executive session number 1. And it was with Thomas Daly, the Executive Vice President of New England Police Union, and Officer Egbert Pinero. Chair Richard Chafee opened the executive session at approximately 7:45 p.m. Mr. Chafee stated he would just like to know what happened on the evening of 11/7/25, excuse me, when while on patrol, a 2021 Ford Explorer Cruiser driven by Egbert Pinero struck a pole, causing $2,500 in damage, and the vehicle was determined a total loss. Mr. Daly questioned why there wasn't an investigation of the accident prior to setting an executive session meeting with Officer Pinero. Ms. Campbell replied that initially she would have asked what had happened, but the select board wasn't informed until 13 days later. Mr. Chafee noted this meeting is not to reprimand the officer, but to find out the facts of the incident. Ms. Coughlin stated unless the intent is to take adverse action, she questioned why someone's character would be infringed upon.
okay, so that's again,
That's wrong
that-
too?
that's for the same reason, right? Because I was raising the objection relative to this being an executive session, because it didn't meet to discuss the reputation, character, physical
Right.
condition, or mental health, rather than professional competence of an individual,
Right.
right? So, and we won't bother to try to
Right,
rescind the
yes.
vote
Beth,
since it didn't fly the
With all
first
due
time.
respect, I didn't get that out of it. If I missed it, I apologize, but that's not what I got out of it. But I'd like to just start over fresh about it, and I'll pay more attention when you speak.
I'd prefer to have the minutes actually reflect what I intended.
Well, I know
but-
you
But
said.
that's
But that
not
was
what
my
I-
bad,
You-
but that
I'm
was my
sure-
bad, but
I'm
that was
sure
my
you-
bad for reading over it
I'm
too
sure
quick
you
at the
would, and I
beginning of the
gave you,
meeting.
I
Okay?
gave you all the
So-
time to read them. I
I
had read
sent
them
it to
previous. I
you.
thought they were very accurate. I didn't have any
So-
problem with it. I read them twice previous, so.
I got it, I
Beth,
understand.
but you did use the word infringed upon. Okay, I definitely typed that you said that.
I probably used the phrase infringed upon, but I infringed upon the character, right? I was referencing back to the executive session
Okay.
exemption,
All right.
okay?
Either I'll have to learn how to type faster, or you folks will have to
No, I
type
just need to
slower.
make sure I'm
Sorry. Yeah,
watching
no,
more
that's
carefully
fine.
when quotes are
Okay.
being attributed to me.
Okay.
That's my own bad. I'll raise my hand and say, Rich, yes, you gave me plenty of time to read it, and I failed my first pass read on it. But hearing
can
it
do
read
better,
out
Beth.
loud,
We
okay,
can
hearing
do
it read
better.
out loud
It's different.
is different than looking
Fair
at
enough.
something on the page.
Fair enough.
It is 100%
So-
different.
Okay, I'm going to continue. Ms. Campbell stated one of her main concerns is why Officer Pinero wasn't subject to a drug and alcohol blood test. Mr. Daly noted there is likely a difference of opinion on what is a significant accident. Ms. Campbell stated that if an officer is the sole person in the vehicle of an accident, or the damage is at least $2,500, the officer is subject to a drug and alcohol test according to the police union contract. Mr. Daly stated it is not on the officer to say he wants to be drug tested. Ms. Campbell said she is looking into who is responsible for setting up a blood test. Mr. Chafee stated that in his opinion, there is no reason for discipline of Officer Pinero. All agreed with Ms. Campbell noting she thinks he is one of the Brookfield's top officers. Mr. Chafee clarified that his goal was not to discipline Mr. Pinero, but to find out what happened, adding he wants to know how an accident like that could occur and a vehicle could be totaled, and also how to prevent it from happening again. Officer Pinero stated the state police filled out a report, but the town doesn't have it yet. Mr. Pinero said he wrote a report for an internal record for the sake of transparency. He explained that the state police barracks sent out a regular trooper to the scene, but a trooper in a supervisory position is required to write an accident report, so there was a follow-up report. Officer Pinero told the group he was embarrassed about the whole incident and took full responsibility, stating it was due to his inattention to detail. He said he pulled up to the intersection of Prouty and Central Street, stopped and opened his laptop in preparation for a patrol log. He said there was a utility pole to the right where the laptop opens up, noting there was glare from the screen. Officer Pinero said he had the wheel cocked directly to the right. He entered and accelerated, immediately made the turn, and made contact with the utility pole. He said he wasn't far enough when he made the turn, adding the fender bent back to the doors. Officer Pinero estimated he was going 10 to 15 miles per hour at impact. Mr. Chafee apologized if Officer Pinero thought the select board was after him, stating anyone could have an accident, and he just wanted to hear the facts from him. He also stated there was never an attempt to intimidate Mr. Pinero via an executive session. Mr. Chafee noted there needs to be a better way to facilitate patrol logs. He asked what the difference is between calling dispatch or logging in on the computer. Officer Pinero said it is less radio traffic. Mr. Daly noted logging is also better for privacy. Ms. Coughlin stated she will look into voice recognition for logging and patrols. Mr. Chafee noted the select board still hasn't seen the state police accident report. Ms. Campbell said she will follow up with the chief. Mr. Chafee told Officer Pinero he doesn't want to see this action affect him in the future, noting he is one of the best and to keep doing the good job he has been doing. All agreed. The select board thanked Officer Pinero for coming in, and then they had adjourned.
I interrupted him too. You want to make sure he's okay? Chris?
Chris, did you get a chance to finish what you wanted to say?
I'm good, Rich, thank you for asking.
Okay. Do you mind coming up?
Matthew Graves, 2 Lane 23. You spoke of using dispatch to do logs. I have a little experience with that.
Okay.
Our fire and EMS logs that we get from dispatch are very, very inaccurate. We'll get calls where it'll be an East Brookfield call and they'll show a Brookfield ambulance on scene. We were never there. They're not accurate. There's
I gotta
issues
think
that
there's
we
some-
have with dispatch and they are not being resolved. That's a longer term thing that we kind of need to deal with too. So if we want them to do that, we need to fix the log system that they have, or we will not have accurate logs.
That wasn't brought to our attention, but that's good to know, so.
And
that's
Donna
something-
can also
Yeah,
confirm.
no,
that.
it's
She's
good
here
to
too.
know, and maybe
But-
something can be, is it because they're short-staffed? Is it because when they're getting a lot of call
We don't
volume,
get
or-
any good answers on it.
Okay,
I didn't even consider it either, the accuracy of the log.
We just try to get corrections on it and
I just expect that when you get a log from the state police,
It's right.
New Braintree, that it would be accurate, but, so that's something to take into consideration, so. But I think the bigger take on this was that pull over at a safe spot to do the log if he's gonna continue to use the laptop, but at the stop line on Prouty and Central Street is probably not the best, but that's why accidents happen.
I've done similar things. I parked out front for a call and backed into a telephone pole and broke a $700 light on the back of the car. Because you don't normally park there, so you don't think about it. But
I
at
think-
least he stopped and entered it and wasn't driving and trying to enter it.
Yeah, he was stopped and then proceeded, but
Yeah.
It's just one of
Lost
those
track of where he was.
unfortunate things that happened that we just wanted more clarification on, that's all. No one was after the officer, so.
It's more about the dispatch. That's what my point was.
Yeah, no, thank you, Matt. Anyone else?
Good evening, Dave Holcraft, 26 Allen Road, Brookfield. I get a couple of procedure things here. Beth, you said it should not be an executive.
Hold on, I'm gonna ask you to speak through me.
Okay.
The chair, and address me, and then if Beth has something to say, then she'll.
Okay, that's fine. We talked about executive session here. when you guys went into executive session, you did not know if you were going to reprimand him, you didn't know what his conduct was, you didn't know what took place on that accident. So that's why it should be an executive session, because you did not know you're going to talk about his character and his condition that he was in that night. You didn't know any of that. So you have to have an executive session. Two, Beth, you talked about the police contract. You didn't know this and that was in it. You were the one that worked months.
Dave, again, I'm going to ask you to speak through me.
I'm using her name because she's a selectman, okay? So I'll look at you, but I'm going to say Beth. Beth, you were the one who helped write the contract on the police department for the police, for the union. You worked on it for months, and now you're saying you didn't know it was in there. Well, if you did that, you weren't doing diligence for the town. It was in there, and you helped put it in there. So don't say you didn't know it was in there, because it was.
I just don't see the need for the personal attack, right? Like,
It's not a personal attack, I'm just stating the facts. Just like when they talk about me, they talk about the facts.
thank you. All right, we good to move on?
Sure.
I wanted to give you an opportunity to address if you wanted, but I wanted to.
So,
check with you
well,
first,
the only thing I want to make sure I clarify, I was aware that the alcohol and drug policy was in there. I don't think I had reviewed the specific phrasing of the blood alcohol test requirement and the threshold of the damage, okay? Every time we've gone through the contract, we've made note of the fact that there is an alcohol and drug policy enclosed within it. I don't think we ever went through line by line what was within that policy. So that's something that, and this goes back to things that we need to make sure kind of wind up on the punch list when we get a new town administrator, is to harmonize our policies and procedures with what's sitting in the contracts. And I think that's a good lesson for us to take away, that regardless of whether it's in the contract or not, we did not have a procedure in place that said, hey, this is the place you send somebody, and we have like an invoicing contract in place so that we can send somebody on a Saturday night. Because I will tell you, if you send them down to Harrington on a Saturday night for just a blood alcohol test, if they don't look impaired, they're probably not going to even execute it. Because to the point that was raised by the attorney is that it may not even be allowable under certain laws and regulations in Massachusetts. So we do need to get that policy reviewed to make sure that we're not stepping in some sort of conflict between what's in the contract and what's in the law. So,
Agreed.
so I think those are the big takeaways from that. And I want to make sure we focus
So,
on the
but
go
I-
forward.
But I also want to say that in lieu of the cost of our town council the last couple of years, I am very reluctant to go to town council on every little thing because I'm so aware of our budget, right? So the next thing is, I would like to have consistency, but at the same time, I don't want to run that budget of town council out, and I try to save it for things that are more relevant. So again, when we do have a town administrator, we can hit.
Yeah, I think
put-
it's a town
put, like-
administrator thing.
But not only that, I mean, following up with the other departments as well, so there's consistency across the board.
Right.
So, all right. All right, number 13, review an open meeting law complaint. It was submitted on 12, I think it was submitted on 12/12, Karen, is that accurate? Did you put it in a? Yep. Oh, it is, okay. Okay. So I received it, so I've had an opportunity to read it. I'm gonna ask Chris Kelleher, do you mind if, we're gonna file for an extension just so that we don't miss any dates? Are you okay if we just simply review it this evening and then get back to you in the future as to our response?
Yeah, absolutely, why not?
Okay. All right.
What did that, Beth? An open meeting law complaint?
With that being said, I'd entertain a motion to
I
adjourn.
just have one shout out
Okay.
to Philip Chafee. He responded to a call a couple weeks ago, I think. Yeah, he was in McDonald's and he saved somebody's life in Spencer. So he was recognized through Spencer. He was recognized on social media for it. So I just wanted to give him a huge shout out.
Wow.
He wasn't on duty. He just happened to be at the right time at the right place and saved the man's life. So
Wow. Congrats to Phil. Would you guys let him know that that Sarah brought it up, and thank you to Phil. Just a good person. Thank you. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Excuse me, Rich. Can I just clarification? I thought you said you were gonna review the complaint tonight and then just do a future response later. Did I mishear you on that?
So I've reviewed it, right? The other two select board members are reviewing it. So did you think that I meant that we were gonna read it tonight?
I thought you were gonna review it tonight and you're just gonna do your formal response later. I thought that's what you meant. Is that not what you meant?
That's not really what I meant. I just wanted the other two members to have a copy of it, to have an opportunity to read it, and then we would get back to you with the response.
All right, is there any ways that we can, to revise that it goes back to being reviewed in a public meeting the way it's supposed to be? The board reviews it in a public meeting and then I get my response. So this gets tabled to another agenda.
We've
let's
not.
read it.
I'm sorry.
So then let's just read
Yeah,
it.
that's what I was gonna say. We've not adjourned, so we will do that now.
are we gonna review it?
I'm not saying you have to review it tonight.
No,
Okay.
we're gonna do it now.
Okay.
Jacob, a lot of it talks about the camera and the live stream. Do you mind addressing some of that this evening? Are you prepared?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am prepared, and no, I do not.
Do you want me to read this and basically give
Yeah.
a summary?
Yeah.
Just a quick summary for those in the room so that you have some context. The complaint was relative to December 9 and November 25th.
Jeff,
That we failed to ensure the meeting was open, audible, and observable to the public in real time. That we failed to pause or correct the technical difficulties affecting the access, and that the board's, there was a board's unlawful entry into executive session without a proper roll call vote. At the onset of the December 9th meeting, Chair represented the meeting was accessible and would be broadcast. The complainant attended remotely due to disability and as an ADA accommodation. During the complainant's public comment, the audio degraded severely, rendering portions of the complainant's remarks unintelligible to the members of the public. The complainant's video feed also blacked out mid-meeting, preventing the public from observing the complainant. Board did not pause the meeting or take steps to correct these failures. On November 25th, 2025, the board entered executive session without conducting a proper roll call vote. So those were two distinct complaints. And then it just cites what those are violations of. In that open meeting law requires meetings to be open to the public, which includes the public ability to hear the proceedings contemporaneously. During the complainant's public comment, the audio degraded to the point that significant portions were unintelligible in the public broadcast. The board continued without pausing to restore audibility. Meeting is not open within the meaning of Section 20 if the public cannot hear portions of it in real time. Posting a recording later does not cure the violation. So that's where we're at.
Sure.
take over for us.
Yeah, so unfortunately, we've been having some issues with the Spectrum Internet. I've taken steps since the meeting to put in a redundant hotspot system for Teams. I've also put in quality of assurance measures, which basically split the signal so that the town hall's traffic is lower priority than the Teams traffic. So Teams will always be a first-class citizen on the network. In addition to those steps, I believe some of the issue with the audio was actually the post-processing that had to be done when I uploaded the video, because the audio, the microphones were actually kind of hot is the term we would use. So they were getting levels that were too high when you were speaking. So I had to lower those levels. That meant that when Chris spoke during that meeting, when it went into the feed and onto the camera, the levels actually got lowered for the at-home viewing experience after the event. I personally, and I won't speak for anybody else, but I personally was able to hear Chris through the entire meeting. I don't know if you guys were able to, and that's sort of the more important aspect. And obviously, getting the internet fixed will prevent this thing from happening again, so I won't even have to edit the audio in the future. So that's, yeah.
So I think substantively, that's going to be the bulk of our response, correct?
Exactly.
So we would draft something to the effect of, because I don't recall, I thought we could actually hear his comments throughout. He
I
was a little
heard him.
quiet. It was quiet, but we could hear him.
Right. Right. That was my recollection of the event as well. And unfortunately, I used when I lowered the levels for everybody in the room, because like I said, the microphones were so loud, it was quite bad. I actually got comments from people that it was loud as well. So I lowered that, and doing that process, unfortunately lowered the level of the teams feeding back in through the mics. The blackout issue, I did message right away when that happened. I sent a message in the Teams asking, hey, did you turn your camera off, or was that a mistake? I did not get any response to that, but I did let Chris know that I had let him know, and I will take additional steps to, maybe send him another text message or something like that. And I hope that's okay, Chris, if that works for you. So.
Yeah, actually, me and Jacob actually spoke the other night, and we pretty much resolved all these technical issues. One of the things I said to Jacob, and I'd like the board to take this into consideration, is when you guys put on your agenda, this is going to be live streamed. You're telling the entire Brookfield community, hey, you know what? You don't need to come in. You can go to YouTube and watch it. So when that fails, you have an open meeting law violation. And one of the other things is, I know that it's technically not a violation of open meeting law, but it certainly is a violation of the Attorney General's guidance and of the First Amendment of the Constitution, is you guys have a comment policy, and you say it's 2 minutes per speaker, but that night, you guys only allowed me to speak 1 minute, 27 seconds. You said, Chris, your time is up. So that is addressed in my complaint, and it is outside the jurisdiction of the open meeting law, but I would like the board to take this opportunity, not just to do a statutory requirement response, but say, hey, we made a mistake. We said you're going to get 2 minutes, we gave you 1:27. No, this is a screw up, and this is, this is the step that we're going to do to make sure that that screw up never repeat. Because I can tell you, to be told that, your 2 minutes is up, you only spoke for 1:27, and in the same exact meeting, another member of the public spoke for 2 minutes, 30 seconds, not interrupted. And I know that that's not, like I said, the jurisdiction of open meeting law, but that is a major top of the line issue for me.
Chris?
I'd like the board to resolve this once and for all, please and thank you.
Chris, I'd like to address what you have to say there. So, sitting up here, running the agenda, doesn't seem like it's much different than participating with the board. But for me, it is, right? So I can't work a timer and run the meeting. So I rely heavily on Jacob. So we have a system that he's to let me know when the time is up. And I don't even know if we got to that point at all tonight with the speakers, but I didn't necessarily hear you say their time was up. It seemed like some of them were 2 minutes or real close, but anyway, I rely heavily on Jacob, so it's a dual part of the meeting. So I will do my best to make sure everyone gets their 2 minutes, and I don't intend to cut them off right at the 2 minutes. I would like them to wrap it up at the 2 minute point, but so I will do better as I do this more.
How about this? How about I just donate the timer to the select board?
We do have one.
Yeah, so I was just going to.
Jacob's in charge of it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so we do have, I used the timer tonight. Before I used the timer that was on my computer, tonight I used one that actually beeps, it's loud, and I think it went off a few times. The only thing I would like some guidance on is whether we should run the 2 minute timer continuously, including the time when you respond.
Yeah, that's the challenge.
Yeah, and that was one of my things, like I cut Chris off, so like then I made sure to ask you to see if you.
And I actually think I would blame most of the issue at the previous meeting
I cut
on
it
that.
in
I
the
wasn't
timer.
sure do I pause, do I stop? And if I miss it by a few seconds,
So from my perspective, and I'm going to ask the other two board members, while someone's speaking with their 2 minutes, we don't interrupt, we don't interject, we'll let them have the 2 minutes. If we have questions, we'll do a follow-up. Is that fair?
okay, and so then the follow-up, you'll ask them and then they can speak additionally, or?
Well, that's gonna be hard, though.
That's difficult.
Yeah.
Because it depends on how many people, and I've agreed to give up a fair amount of time to this, but I want to go home at some point. in the
Right,
evening,
sure.
Right? So,
Yep.
So I think follow-ups are going to be depending on the length of the meeting and the number of people here.
So maybe we let them speak their time, and when they're done speaking,
They're done.
we're done with the
They're
time.
done. Yeah, because if,
I think that's a cleaner way to
I
show
agree.
consistency.
It's certainly easier for me to keep track of, because I'm also juggling multiple
if
things.
somebody
so.
goes off topic and you interrupt them, how is that gonna,
Well, I
and
would
tell
say
them
that's,
to, and to tell them to have
Bring it
somebody
back
to
in.
stop, yeah, how are you gonna?
And for what it's worth, so I was just doing some research, and members, generally speaking, and I'm not a lawyer, but members of the public can use their 2 minutes or their time to speak as they wish. You don't have to necessarily respond. So, they can meander or, so. So I think that might be a good approach, and I will keep that in mind, and I hopefully that addresses the concerns moving forward.
so previous to this, you were using a timer on your computer?
I was, and now
So
I've
now
switched
we're
to the
using-
audible one, so I don't have to yell.
Did you hear that, Chris?
Yeah, I heard that. The last thing I'm gonna request is, and I say this with respectfully, because the members of the select board, just please take the open meeting law class when we turn general get straight. And the reason I say that is because even tonight, there's 3 violations, and I'm
Meeting law.
perplexed. What's that?
Beth was asking,
Beth
Beth
asked-
asked what you said.
Yeah,
Take-
just take the open meeting law class, it's a refresher. It takes you no time, and then that way there, you avoid all these open meeting law complaints. And the reason I ask that is not just to be punitive, is because we guys are the only board that's televised. The only board that's televised to the town. So other board members watch what you do. And if you make the consistent mistakes, then it can obviously be repeated from other boards. That's just a request. I mean, you can tell me to go kick rocks if you want. I don't care. But that's my request. I'll end with that.
Chris, I will take that into consideration, but I do want to tell you that my time is limited, and I try to do the best I can, genuinely, consistently for the public, and I'm going to continue to make that statement. I'll have a little more time coming up in the winter, and I will take that class, but nothing that's done here is in an attempt to skirt the law, from my perspective, so. But I constantly try to do better.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Anything else? I'll make a motion.
Wait, I have a question. Who's gonna come up with the response? Are we coming, are we gonna have the response at the next meeting, or what are we gonna do?
Back the extension, and I did the last one, I can figure it out, and then he will provide all the technical difficulties, the explanation, we'll try to make it short and sweet.
All right.
And I'll send it to for review, okay?
Perfect.
Karen, you can make it short and sweet. I consider it to be resolved. I consider it to be a resolved complaint, so it's not gonna go further to the Attorney General. So you can make it as very short as you want.
Because we had the discussion, so we reviewed it publicly.
Okay. Well, thank you. We good?
Motion to adjourn?
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Don't forget, department head meeting tomorrow. We'll discuss the budget.
How you doing? What would you like? Do you mind just hanging out for a minute and we'll get that for you?
I can do it. Can do what? Do I seem like I'm not playing in the sandbox?
So why that was out of the question is I violated it. And then, if y'all need work